Hey guys, it's Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation 360. Today I'm going to really dive into what is coaching, not only just coaching traditionally, but what does it look like in the metaverse? I hope you enjoy. So when we think of virtual reality, we think of this artificial, computer generated simulation or sometimes recorded recreation of life and environment and their situation. So we know it immerses the user by making them feel like they're experiencing the immortal life, right? The reality firsthand, and primarily by simulating their vision and their hearing. So this is a big deal for K-12 because this is new, but we know we have to implement some of these ideas in our classroom. There's so many benefits for augmented reality. We're talking about student engagement, interest, right? Context of understanding, simulating the learning environment, total collaboration with people locally, but also globally, as well as memory, memory, routine, sensory, as well as cost effectiveness. Now we're making it very easy for students to access it on any device. But what does this mean for educators? So there is this app, right? That's called Spatial Home. And Spatial Home is just that. You can create a home, a warm environment that really embraces your presence. You can have ocean views. Sometimes there could be backdrops of waterfall that kind of drowns out the noise, right? Anybody can truly immerse themselves in this tranquil environment and a world of wonder in quiet spaces, private spaces. It's kind of like an elegant hideaway in your VR system, right? This space is available for anyone who wants to go in and join, which makes it really good to create rooms in a virtual world. One of the things that makes this kind of hot is virtual reality is an overlay, right? So you can have many centers or groups and turning the groups or modules or spaces into content, right? So you can create content on the fly while you're in the space. So one could be listening to maybe a TED Talk, another one can be working on a calendar placement, as you can see in the video, and somebody else can be having conversation in the room. It's really about creating your own space while supporting people in the space with content. So now it brings us to this continuum. So first we had our Pokemon Go. Everybody remembers Pokemon Go. If you remember Pokemon Go, let me know. DM me in the chat. But Pokemon Go was really amazing because it had digital overlays in an actual real world. So now we have our Oculus glasses and we are fully immersed in a new world, right? And then it continues to go on. And now we're thinking about ways we can implement this new technology into the classroom, from simulations to different worlds to virtual field trips to actually being in new spaces. So the possibilities are endless. So now we're digging into the emergence of immersive learning in the metaverse, right? So now let's start with artificial intelligence. A lot of these things we're using already, but artificial intelligence is pretty much intelligence demonstrated by machines, right? So we're talking about bots, facial recognition, all that is artificial intelligence, and a lot of us are using those pieces already. The next one is machine learning, right? Machine learning is sort of like a computer science, which pretty much focuses on the use of data and algorithms to imitate the way that humans learn. But it's gradually increasing, it's gradually improving its accuracy, right? So we're talking about things like speech recognition, which is nice, home security, and even activity trackers are a part of this machine learning. The next thing is the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is amazing because it has physical objects with sensors in it, right? So processing ability, software, and other technologies that can connect and interconnect data, right? And so what does that look like? My refrigerator, of course, tells me, oh, Cassandra, it is time to go get you some milk, right? So it's exchanging of data. And last but not least is cloud computing, right? Putting it everything that we think into the cloud, right? So we're talking about the delivery of computing services from Dropbox to Gmail to Facebook. All these are these computing services that we already use that are getting better by the minute. So now let's talk about technology, and we got to talk about blooms, right? So blooms, we start with remember, right? How are we recognizing and recalling facts? And then next we go to understand, right? What do those facts mean, especially when we're talking about technology? How do we apply? How do we break it into parts? About the value and ideas, and then how do we combine it to whole to create new knowledge and transfer from short-term memory to long-term memory. Iowa State did a phenomenal job by really identifying Bloom. So pretty much they say Bloom is the traditional education. Here we go. Traditional education. And green is augmented reality going up to the orange, which is the true transfer of knowledge, the orange all the way to the red. Okay? Really thinking of how we can use augmented reality in these situations to really support student learning. So you're starting to see universities kind of get a push on this. Usually we are digitizing books and texts and research, but right now you're starting to see a humongous push to digitize content for the VR world, right? So there's a lot of libraries that are start to form, a lot of students, and anybody in the world can create these simulations in these spaces, which really creates an open market. Yes, if you have something this massive, this big, you have to have categories and filters to meet the needs. So if I wanted to create simulations of something, if it's already made, why reinvent the wheel, right? I invite everybody to my space or my room, and then we can recreate things. But the ultimate goal is for us to have these already created items for us to build on that. I am a huge fan of Jim Knight. Jim Knight recommends this book, and it's called The Grow Model. The Grow Model is an amazing strategy that a lot of people are using, especially across the globe, right? So internationally, this is a big push. But most of the Grow Model is used for maybe experienced teachers that need help with focusing on maybe one particular objective, one goal. This is not for the new teacher, right? 0 to 3 years who are trying to figure it out. They need much more support in best practices. But for the grow model, it's really for the teacher that wants to create her own goals. And so what that looks like is here is GROW, okay? The G stands for, creating a goal and then measuring it. Kind of reminds me of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, or results oriented and timely, right? So when we're thinking about goals, most of the questions are like, how do you know that you have achieved this goal? So what are you going to do? What's your goal? And how do you know that the problem is solved, right? So some of those questions are great scaffolding questions that I can ask to get them to actually create or have a goal or objective. R is for current reality. What is their current reality? What is happening right now? So that's when we're going into who, what, where, when, how often, what is the effect or result of this? Um, have you taken any steps toward this goal? Does this conflict, right? Does this goal conflict with any other goals or objectives that you are currently in, right? The O is for options. Here we go. We're in the options. So the coach never has the answer in this case, right? We're always asking the questions. So the questions would be, what else can you do? What if that constraint were removed? Would this change things? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each option? And what are the factors and considerations about these options? And what do you need? What do you need to stop doing in order to achieve this goal? Right? These are some of the questions that we ask. And last but not least is will. Right? What is your will? It's about progress. Right? How are you willing to do this, or your way forward? What are you doing now? And then what time frame do we expect this to be done? What else will you do? What could stop you or prevent you from moving forward? How will you overcome this? And how will you keep yourself motivated, right? Sustainability. So these are some great questions that I would ask especially if we're talking about supporting teachers. Like I said, it's used internationally, but really supporting teachers in next steps. Make sure you watch the video below. Toby is really great when it talks about coaching in a virtual space, which a lot of us are starting to think about how can we support others besides for our students and our teachers in our schools. So when thinking about how you bring teachers in a virtual space using Spacial, I think Toby does a really great job in using the 𝐥𝐤 model with his teachers. So if you look in Toby's space, you'll see posters on the wall signifying these different stages that he's going to take his teachers through, sort of kind of like the modules of simulation. And so on the floor, as you notice, he has like a road, right? This is our road to success. And with our road, what is our ultimate goal? And you'll see in the video, the ultimate goal is for him to run more, exercise more throughout the day. We can really think about that when we're thinking about our teachers. What's your goal? To immerse technology into your classroom, right? And the teacher or the person in the space finds a goal of them actually using technology in the classroom. And maybe that has incorporating using the whiteboard or using a device or using VR glasses, whatever it is, whatever her goal or objective is, she will have that in the imagery and she will bring that into the space, right? Then you'll see Toby lays out these three options, so these three roads that you can take. So what are some of your options that you have to meet your goal, right? But he also has things like a boulder, right? This boulder is kind of like a barrier. What will stop you from reaching the ultimate goal of incorporating technology in the classroom? And so he also has a fence, right, which is another barrier, okay? And then he has one more, which is like a stoplight. What is stopping you from reaching your goal? So these three barriers, these three options, these three barriers, all blocking the way to the destination, which is ultimately reaching the goal. And if you notice on the wall are the stages of each support, which he's taking these teachers through. Okay, and so he says, hey, let's start down here. So he brings everybody down there to the first module and says, what does this image, which is the picture on the wall, what does this mean to you? Okay, and so he says, what does this picture signify? He also has like a goal post in front of the picture saying, you know, representing this goal. And then he asks them, what is your current reality now? And I think that is really great because I always think about how we can bring our teachers into the metaverse and have them play with some of these tools, have them identify some of their goals, have them create some of their ideas, have teachers co-collaborate, right? And then have actual VR overlay, right? Virtual realities, we have TED Talks or TEDx's. So we've done the due diligence of having things in the space that will support them, but we need to know their goal to actually get them through to the next phase. Last but not least, our teachers trying it. Now we want to give teachers the power, right? The motivation to move from this is my goal to actually action steps. So this is a great example of this teacher or this person's goal in Toby's space. So this teacher's goal was to actually make more income. Now, granted, this is not typical of educational idea, but it gives us an idea of what to do next in our spaces, right, in our classes. So this, in my mind, is a teacher, and the teacher is really looking at, okay, what are some ways to, I guess, bring in income? And so she was like, well, what's preventing me from bringing in extra income is the time. The time I spend on endless scrolling, right, on social media. Sometimes I look, I've spent 2 to 3 hours and the day is gone, right? So that's just one example of the power of spaces and the power of co-collaborating within a space, because not only is the teacher grappling through what do I need to do, but the coaches are in the room as well as other teachers are in the room helping give guidance and give support or ideas to next steps and phases. I hope you enjoyed this. This is Cassandra Williams from Educational Innovation 360. Talk to you later. Bye.